My friend, hear me today. There is a moment in every one of our lives where we must make a choice to stay entangled in the chaos of our emotions or to rise above and take control. Emotional detachment is not about being cold. It's about gaining the strength to stand firm in your own power, no matter what storms are raging around you. You see, life has a way of attaching us to people, situations, and even pain. And too often we find ourselves bound by emotions we didn't choose, shackled by the weight of things that have no intention of moving forward. But let me tell you, you don't have to stay there. Emotional detachment is a concept that many misunderstand. It is not about being cold, indifferent, or apathetic. It is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending that you don't feel pain, joy, anger, or fear. Emotional detachment is, in fact, about understanding the power of your emotions and learning to control them rather than letting them control you. It's about stepping into your inner strength and reclaiming the peace that is often disrupted by uncontrolled emotional reactions. The reason this is so vital is because emotions are powerful. They can shape our decisions, influence our relationships, and sometimes even define our lives. But when we allow ourselves to be ruled by them, we give away our power. We become like a ship without a rudder, drifting in whatever direction the waves of our feelings take us. Emotional detachment is about finding the control you need to navigate the storms without being tossed around by every wave. The first thing to understand is that emotions are natural. We are human beings, not robots. Emotions are part of the fabric of who we are, and they exist for a reason. They help us process experiences, communicate with others, and make decisions. Emotions themselves are not the enemy. They are a natural response to life. But here's the catch. Emotions can be like fire. When contained, fire provides warmth, light, and energy. But when uncontrolled, it can burn everything in its path. Emotional detachment doesn't mean putting out the fire. It means learning to control the flame, understanding how to use that emotional energy in a way that serves you rather than destroys you. One of the biggest misconceptions about emotional detachment is that it means not caring. In truth, it's the opposite. Emotional detachment is a profound form of caring, but it's caring in the right way. It's the ability to love deeply, to be present for others, and to show compassion without losing yourself in the process. When you are emotionally detached, you are not controlled by the outcomes of others' actions or by the unpredictable nature of life itself. You can be there for others, but you are no longer emotionally entangled in their struggles, their opinions, or their problems. You don't lose yourself in their chaos because you've learned to keep your peace no matter what. So emotional detachment is about self-control, and that self-control comes from a deep understanding of who you are and what you truly value. You see, when we are emotionally attached to something or someone in an unhealthy way, we often end up giving more of ourselves than we should. We give away our peace, our sense of self-worth, and our joy. But when you practice emotional detachment, you begin to realize that your peace is not negotiable. It's not something that should be up for grabs every time someone else behaves in a way you don't like or every time life doesn't unfold the way you hope. Your peace is an inside job. The key to emotional detachment is recognizing that you are not a victim to your emotions, nor are you a prisoner to your circumstances. You are in control of your emotional state. This means that when something happens that could potentially trigger a strong emotional reaction, whether it's an argument with a loved one, a setback at work, or a situation that feels unfair, you have the power to pause, to take a step back, and to decide how you will respond. You don't have to react impulsively because your response doesn't have to come from a place of emotional reaction. You can respond from a place of emotional intelligence. Emotional detachment doesn't make you less human. In fact, it makes you more human. It allows you to experience the full range of emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. When you can detach emotionally from situations, you gain clarity. You can see things more objectively without the cloud of anger, resentment, or sadness distorting your view. In that clarity, you can make better decisions. You can act out of love, wisdom, and strength, not out of fear, anxiety, or frustration. This is how you begin to take your power back. You no longer give other people, situations, or outcomes the power to dictate your emotional state. When you understand the power of emotional detachment, you free yourself. You release the emotional baggage that weighs you down, the burdens that prevent you from moving forward. You don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders because you realize that you don't have to carry what doesn't belong to you. Emotional detachment allows you to stop worrying about things that are beyond your control, and it empowers you to focus on the things you can influence. In the end, emotional detachment is a tool for growth, healing, and peace. It's about taking responsibility for your emotions, understanding where they come from, and choosing how you will let them influence your life. And once you learn how to emotionally detach, you'll find that you not only survive the storms of life, you thrive through them. Emotional dependency is one of the most common traps that many people fall into, often without even realizing it. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to seek validation from others to define our worth by the opinions, behaviors, and approval of those around us. Whether it's a romantic partner, a friend, a family member, or even colleagues at work, we often find ourselves emotionally tethered to others in ways that are unhealthy, unsustainable, and ultimately limiting to our personal growth. The first step in learning how to emotionally detach is recognizing where your emotional dependencies lie and identifying what or who you've allowed to shape your sense of self. We need to understand that emotional dependency isn't just about needing others for support, it's about relying on them for your sense of happiness, fulfillment, or worth. This dependency often manifests in a variety of ways. It might look like constantly seeking reassurance from others, feeling like you need someone else's approval before you can make decisions, or letting someone else's emotions dictate your own. Maybe you've been in a relationship where you feel like your entire happiness is tied to the other person's actions, or you depend on a particular friend to always make you feel good about yourself. This is a form of emotional codependency, and it can steal your peace, cloud your judgment, and prevent you from reaching your fullest potential. The truth is, no one else can define your worth but you. If you find yourself constantly seeking approval, validation, or affection from others, it's crucial to step back and ask yourself why. Why do you feel that your happiness is tied to someone else's approval? Why do you feel incomplete when others don't behave in a way that you expect or want them to? This isn't to say that we shouldn't love and support others. It's simply a recognition that your emotional well-being cannot and should not be dependent on the whims and behaviors of others. When we emotionally depend on others for our sense of self, we're essentially handing over our peace to them, and we've all seen how easily that peace can be disturbed. A big part of emotional dependency is fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of failure, and ultimately fear of being alone. We fear that without the validation or presence of others, we will somehow be incomplete. But here's the profound truth: you are already whole. Your worth isn't defined by anyone else's actions or words. It's not contingent on anyone's approval, attention, or love. The moment you internalize this, the grip of emotional dependency begins to loosen. You begin to realize that your peace, your joy, your confidence, these things must come from within, not from without. When you are emotionally dependent on someone, it's easy to fall into patterns of behavior that are designed to please or keep that person in your life. You may suppress your true feelings, ignore your needs, or sacrifice your boundaries, all in the name of maintaining harmony or getting the approval you crave. This is where we start to lose ourselves in relationships. The act of constantly molding yourself to meet the expectations of others can leave you feeling drained, disconnected, and over time resentful. You begin to feel like you're walking on eggshells, constantly anticipating what others need from you and neglecting what you need for yourself. To break free from this dependency, it requires a conscious shift, a shift in focus. Rather than seeking validation outside of yourself, you must turn inward. You need to ask yourself, what do I truly need in this moment? What is best for my emotional health, regardless of whether it aligns with someone else's expectations? How can I honor my own feelings, desires, and boundaries without feeling guilty or ashamed? This is not about shutting people out or abandoning relationships. It's about recognizing your right to exist fully, freely, and independently without being beholden to the emotions or actions of others. Understanding where your emotional dependencies lie also means taking the time to recognize patterns in your life. Perhaps you've always been the caretaker in a relationship, always putting others' needs above your own, to the point where you lose touch with what you actually need or want. Maybe you've been in friendships or romantic relationships where you feel as though your mood fluctuates based on the mood of the other person. These patterns aren't just coincidental, they are habits that you've developed over time, often due to fear, insecurity, or a lack of self-awareness. Identifying these patterns is the first step in breaking free from them. Once you recognize the emotional dependencies in your life, you can begin to shift your focus. You have the power to choose who and what you allow to affect your emotional state. This doesn't mean that you cut people off or stop caring about them. It means you stop letting their actions control your emotional well-being. You begin to understand that you are the one responsible for your happiness and peace. No one else has the power to take that from you unless you allow it. Let me be clear, recognizing emotional dependency is not about blaming others. It's about taking responsibility for yourself. It's about realizing that no one can truly make you feel anything without your consent. Emotional detachment, in this sense, isn't about detaching from people or relationships. It's about detaching from unhealthy expectations, attachments, and beliefs that keep you tethered to things or people that don't serve your highest good. When you begin to do this, you not only regain control over your emotional state, but also empower yourself to build healthier, more balanced relationships where both parties are free to love and support each other without the need for emotional manipulation or dependence. Shifting your focus from the external world to your internal world is one of the most liberating steps you can take in the journey of emotional detachment. We live in a society that constantly tells us to look outward for answers, validation, and fulfillment. The messages we receive from media, culture, and even the people around us often reinforce the idea that our happiness, peace, and sense of worth come from external sources, whether it's our job title, our appearance, the approval of others, or the accumulation of material wealth. We are taught to seek out these external markers of success, believing that they will somehow give us the peace and satisfaction we crave. However, the deeper truth is that lasting fulfillment cannot come from the external world. It must come from within. When we shift our focus inward, we begin to realize that our peace, our joy, and our sense of worth are not things that can be found in other people or possessions, but are intrinsic to who we are. You have within you everything you need to be at peace, to be happy, and to feel complete. The first step in emotional detachment is recognizing this truth that your emotional well-being is yours to govern, not dependent on anyone else's behavior or approval. When you understand this, you start to make different choices about how you engage with the world around you. You no longer look to external sources for validation. You begin to find your validation within. This shift can be incredibly freeing, but it's also challenging because it requires you to confront some deep-seated beliefs about your self-worth. We often measure our value by the external markers that we've been taught to prioritize, whether it's being in a successful relationship, achieving professional milestones, or gaining social recognition. While these things can certainly bring happiness, they should not be the foundation of your emotional state. Your worth is not contingent upon what you achieve or how others perceive you. It is inherent in who you are as a person. You are valuable simply because you exist, not because of anything you do or anyone else's judgment. When you start to make this internal shift, something powerful begins to happen. You become less susceptible to the highs and lows of life's external circumstances. Rather than getting caught up in the fluctuations of what is happening around you, you create an anchor within yourself. For instance, when someone criticizes you, instead of spiraling into self-doubt or anger, you are able to take a step back and ask, is this true? Does this define who I am? You learn to process your emotions from a place of self-assurance rather than reacting out of insecurity or fear. This doesn't mean you stop caring about what others think, but it means that you no longer allow others' opinions to dictate your emotional state. As you begin to prioritize your inner world, you may find that you start to experience a sense of peace that is not easily shaken. You develop a deeper sense of self-trust and self-respect. This allows you to take ownership of your emotions, your thoughts, and your life choices. You are no longer at the mercy of how others treat you or how circumstances unfold. Instead of reacting to the world around you, you respond with intention and clarity. You begin to see that while you cannot control what happens in the world, you control how you interpret and respond to it. One of the most transformative aspects of this shift is the way you start to experience relationships. When your emotional state is no longer dependent on other people's approval or behavior, you can engage in relationships from a place of authenticity and strength. You don't need to rely on others to validate your worth or fill your emotional needs. This is not about shutting yourself off or being emotionally distant. It's about becoming emotionally independent, where you can love, care for, and support others without sacrificing your own well-being. You become emotionally free, and that freedom allows you to experience relationships in a much healthier and more balanced way. This inward focus also enables you to tap into a deeper source of wisdom that comes from self-awareness. When you are no longer constantly looking outward for validation or approval, you have more room to listen to your own intuition and inner guidance. You begin to trust your instincts and make decisions based on your own values and beliefs rather than on external pressures or expectations. This empowers you to live a life that is more aligned with who you truly are rather than who the world tells you to be. Your internal compass becomes your guide, leading you toward choices that nurture your well-being and support your growth. Additionally, this shift in focus allows you to embrace the present moment with greater clarity and peace. When you're not constantly looking outside of yourself for fulfillment, you are able to fully experience life as it unfolds without being distracted by comparisons, fears, or regrets. You can appreciate the small joys, the quiet moments, and the lessons that come with each experience because you are not waiting for external circumstances to change in order to feel fulfilled. Your fulfillment comes from the awareness that you are enough as you are right this moment. In the process of emotional detachment, you begin to realize that you are the source of your own peace. You no longer need to look to others or to external achievements to feel complete. This internal shift is not about rejecting the world around you. It's about recognizing that your emotional stability and peace come from a deep, unshakable place within. When you make this shift, life becomes less about chasing after external validation and more about cultivating a sense of groundedness and self-assurance that allows you to move through the world with confidence, resilience, and joy. Setting healthy boundaries is one of the most essential skills you can develop on the journey toward emotional detachment. Often, we find ourselves emotionally entangled with others because we have not learned how to protect our inner world. Boundaries aren't about building walls, they are about establishing the space necessary for us to maintain our peace, preserve our energy, and honor our emotional needs. Without boundaries, we are like a vessel that can't hold water. We leak emotionally, physically, and mentally, and we end up drained, resentful, and overwhelmed. Boundaries allow us to maintain our integrity, our peace of mind, and our emotional strength, all of which are crucial for emotional detachment. The first step in setting healthy boundaries is recognizing that you have the right to protect your emotional space. Many of us grow up learning that we should always accommodate others, that we should be there for everyone, and that we should put others' needs before our own. While kindness, empathy, and support for others are important, there's a subtle danger in neglecting your own needs in the process. When you do not set boundaries, you inadvertently allow others to dictate how you feel, how you act, and how much energy you give. This is especially true in relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendships. Without boundaries, you begin to lose yourself in the roles that others expect you to play, and over time, you may forget what it feels like to prioritize your own well-being. The truth is that you are responsible for protecting your peace, and it's okay to say no when something doesn't feel right for you. It's okay to walk away from relationships or situations that drain you. Emotional detachment is not about cutting people off entirely. It's about understanding that you don't have to be emotionally available to everyone all the time. But you don't have to take on someone else's emotional baggage, nor do you have to sacrifice your mental and emotional health to meet the expectations of others. Learning to say no is one of the most powerful tools you have in your emotional toolbox. Saying no doesn't mean you are rejecting someone. It simply means that you are taking care of yourself. Establishing boundaries also requires a deep level of self-awareness. You need to know yourself well enough to understand what you need to protect and what you can give. Sometimes boundaries aren't immediately obvious. We often don't realize that we've been emotionally compromised until we're already depleted. But when you start paying attention to your feelings, you begin to notice when your energy is being drained, when your peace is being disturbed, or when you're sacrificing too much of your emotional self to maintain a connection. You may find that certain interactions leave you feeling exhausted, angry, or sad, and that's a signal that a boundary has been crossed. The more in tune you become with your emotions, the easier it is to identify when you need to set or enforce a boundary. Once you recognize the need for boundaries, you also need to communicate them clearly and assertively. Boundaries aren't effective if you don't express them, and they are rarely respected if you don't communicate them with confidence. This can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been conditioned to avoid conflict or to please others. But setting boundaries is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. By clearly stating your limits, you teach others how to treat you, and you reinforce your right to protect your emotional well-being. You don't need to apologize for needing space or for protecting your energy. You have the right to decide what is acceptable for you and what is not, and it's essential to communicate this with clarity and compassion. Sometimes setting boundaries means making difficult decisions, whether that's distancing yourself from people who are toxic or saying no to commitments that don't align with your values. It may also mean prioritizing your own needs, even if that causes discomfort for others. This can be particularly challenging if you spend a lifetime putting others first. But remember that your well-being is not negotiable. When you fail to set boundaries, you create an environment where others' needs and emotions dominate your life, and you are left feeling depleted, resentful, and overwhelmed. On the other hand, when you set boundaries, you ensure that you are able to show up fully for others without losing yourself in the process. Healthy boundaries allow you to be a better partner, friend, family member, and colleague because you are able to engage with others from a place of strength, not exhaustion. In relationships, boundaries help establish mutual respect. When you set boundaries, you are teaching others how to honor your space, your time, and your emotional needs. You also create an environment where others feel safe to express their own needs and boundaries. It fosters a relationship dynamic that is based on respect, understanding, and healthy emotional independence. Healthy boundaries also protect you from enabling destructive behaviors in others, whether it's manipulation, emotional blackmail, or codependency. Setting clear boundaries is a way of saying, I value myself and my emotional health, and I expect the same respect from you. It's important to remember that boundaries aren't a one-time thing, they are an ongoing practice. You'll need to consistently check in with yourself and adjust your boundaries as necessary. Life changes, people change, and your emotional needs will evolve over time. The key is to remain committed to protecting your peace and honoring your own emotional landscape, no matter how external circumstances might shift. By setting and enforcing healthy boundaries, you take back control over your emotional state. You no longer give others the power to dictate how you feel or to drain your energy. You become emotionally independent, yet still deeply connected to those who respect your space and your needs. Boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They are the foundations that allow your relationships to thrive in a way that is balanced, nurturing, and empowering for all parties involved. They are the key to maintaining your emotional detachment while still engaging meaningfully with the world around you. The power of letting go is one of the most profound tools in the practice of emotional detachment. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting, denying, or suppressing feelings. It means releasing the hold that past experiences, negative emotions, or toxic attachments have on your life. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of things that no longer serve you, allowing you to move forward with a renewed sense of purpose and emotional clarity. Letting go is not a one-time decision, but an ongoing process, a conscious choice to free yourself from the emotional burdens that hold you back and to embrace the present with open hands, ready to receive what is meant for you. We often hold on to things because we believe that letting go means losing something valuable. Whether it's a relationship, a job, a dream, or even a particular belief about ourselves, we tend to cling to what's familiar, even if it's unhealthy or limiting. We fear that if we let go of the past, we will lose part of who we are or that we'll never find something better. But the truth is, holding on to the past often holds us back from the future we're meant to create. When we let go, we make room for new opportunities, new growth, and new experiences that align with our present and future self. By releasing what no longer serves us, we open ourselves to the fullness of life, unburdened by the ghosts of what was. The process of letting go starts with recognizing what it is that you need to release. Sometimes we hold on to past hurts, disappointments, or betrayals without even realizing it. We carry these emotional scars like heavy stones, unaware that they are weighing down our ability to move forward. These past experiences, especially those that caused us pain, often become ingrained in our identities. We may find ourselves saying things like, "I'm just not good enough, I'm not worthy of love," or "I will never succeed because of what happened to me." But these beliefs are rooted in the past, and they are not who you are. Letting go means shedding these false narratives, allowing you to reclaim the truth of your identity. You are not the sum of your past mistakes or your past pain. You are not defined by what happened to you, but by who you choose to become in the present. Embracing the power of letting go also means releasing the need for control. So much of our emotional suffering comes from trying to control outcomes or people. We try to manipulate situations or people into fitting our expectations, believing that if we just manage things a little more carefully, everything will work out as we want. But the truth is, life is full of uncertainties and things that are beyond our control. Letting go means releasing the need to control every aspect of life and trusting that the universe or whatever higher power you believe in has a plan for you. It's about surrendering to the flow of life and knowing that even when things don't go as planned, you can trust that what's meant for you will not pass you by. Control only tightens your grip on the very things that prevent your growth and peace. When you let go, you free yourself from the burden of trying to manage everything around you. One of the biggest hurdles in letting go is the fear of change. Change is uncomfortable, and it's natural to resist it. We often hold on to situations or people because we fear what will happen if we let go. But growth is always accompanied by change. You cannot evolve into your highest self while clinging to what no longer serves you. Letting go is the process of moving through fear and trusting that you are strong enough to handle the changes that come with it. When you release attachments to the past or to particular outcomes, you give yourself the space to transform. You allow yourself to become the person you were always meant to be, one who is unshackled by the weight of old patterns, beliefs, and attachments. And another powerful aspect of letting go is learning to forgive. Forgiveness is often the key to emotional detachment. Many times we hold on to past hurts because we haven't forgiven ourselves or others. We replay old wounds, holding on to anger, bitterness, or resentment, believing that if we keep these feelings alive, we are somehow protecting ourselves from further hurt. But the truth is, holding on to unforgiveness only harms you. It keeps you emotionally bound to the very people or situations that have caused you pain. Forgiveness is not about excusing what was done to you. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional grip that those experiences have on your life. It's about saying, I no longer choose to let this define me or control me. Forgiveness allows you to release the emotional weight of the past and to step into your future with a lighter heart. Letting go is also about releasing expectations. We often hold on to rigid ideas of how things should be, whether it's how a relationship should unfold, how a job should go, or how we think our lives should look. These expectations can create a sense of frustration and disappointment when things don't go according to plan. Letting go means accepting that life doesn't always follow a script and that sometimes the best things come from unexpected places. When you let go of rigid expectations, you allow life to surprise you in ways that bring joy, fulfillment, and growth. You become open to new possibilities rather than confined by what you think should happen. Finally, letting go is an act of self-love. It is a commitment to your own emotional health and well-being. By letting go of the things, people, and beliefs that weigh you down, you are choosing to prioritize your peace, your growth, and your happiness. It's an affirmation that you deserve to live fully and freely, unburdened by the past. The power of letting go is not just about moving on from the past. It's about making space for the life that's waiting for you. It's about stepping into the fullness of your potential, embracing change, and trusting that every ending is simply the beginning of something new. When you let go, you free yourself to become the person you are meant to be, whole, unburdened, and ready for whatever life has in store. In the journey of emotional detachment, one of the most profound steps you can take is to embrace the art of self-reflection and personal growth. This process involves looking inward to understand your emotional patterns, beliefs, and reactions so that you can break free from unhealthy attachments and behaviors that keep you stuck. Emotional detachment is not about rejecting emotions or distancing yourself from others. It is about learning to respond to life's challenges with greater awareness, self-control, and emotional intelligence. By embracing self-reflection, you can start to untangle yourself from the emotional patterns that no longer serve you and create space for healthier, more balanced connections with others. The first step in this process is understanding that emotional detachment is not an instant fix, but a continuous journey. It's easy to think that emotional detachment is simply about walking away from unhealthy relationships or situations. While those actions are part of the equation, true emotional detachment goes deeper. It involves understanding your triggers, your desires, and your fears so that you can stop reacting impulsively to external circumstances. Self-reflection allows you to gain clarity about the emotional baggage you carry and helps you understand why you may feel so tied to certain people, places, or situations. It helps you get to the root cause of your emotional dependencies, often revealing patterns from your past that continue to shape your present. When you take the time to reflect on your emotional life, you start to recognize the stories you tell yourself. These stories are often formed in childhood or through past experiences, and they influence the way you perceive yourself and the world around you. Perhaps you tell yourself that you are not worthy of love or success, or maybe you feel unworthy of happiness unless you meet certain conditions set by others. These beliefs can become the lenses through which you view the world, causing you to hold on to toxic relationships, self-limiting behaviors, or unhealthy expectations. By questioning these beliefs, you can start to dismantle them and create new, healthier narratives that support your emotional independence. Self-reflection also helps you understand the difference between reacting and responding. When we are emotionally attached to certain outcomes or people, our reactions are often impulsive and driven by fear, insecurity, or the need for validation. We react to situations based on old emotional wounds, and our responses are often automatic and unconscious. However, self-reflection teaches you how to step back and create space between a stimulus and your response. It helps you recognize when you're being triggered and gives you the tools to choose a more thoughtful, conscious response. Instead of reacting out of anger, frustration, or fear, you can respond from a place of calm and self-assurance. This shift in mindset is one of the most powerful aspects of emotional detachment because it allows you to remain centered in your own emotional world, no matter what's happening around you. Another crucial aspect of self-reflection is learning to recognize your emotional needs and honoring them. When you are emotionally attached to others or to outcomes, you often ignore your own needs in favor of pleasing others or maintaining a sense of security. However, emotional detachment is about understanding that your well-being is your responsibility. By reflecting on your own needs, whether they are physical, emotional, or spiritual, you can begin to nurture yourself in ways that promote your emotional health. This could mean setting aside time for self-care, seeking support when needed, or setting boundaries with people who drain your energy. By acknowledging and honoring your emotional needs, you create a solid foundation of self-respect and self-love that allows you to navigate life without relying on others to meet those needs. Through self-reflection, you also begin to recognize the importance of forgiveness, both for yourself and others. Holding on to past hurts or grievances is one of the biggest obstacles to emotional detachment. When you carry anger, resentment, or regret, you are emotionally tethered to the past, and it becomes incredibly difficult to move forward. Reflecting on your emotional experiences allows you to process these feelings in a healthy way, and it opens the door to forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean that what happened to you was okay or that you condone the actions of others. It simply means that you are willing to release the hold that past events have on your emotional state. When you forgive, you free yourself from the emotional grip of the past and open yourself to healing and growth. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, and it is essential for emotional freedom. Another powerful benefit of self-reflection is that it helps you build resilience. Life will inevitably bring challenges, and emotional detachment is not about avoiding pain or hardship. It's about learning how to navigate those difficulties with grace and strength. When you reflect on past experiences, you begin to see the patterns of growth that have emerged from your struggles. You start to understand that every obstacle was an opportunity to learn something about yourselves. Resilience comes from the realization that you are capable of handling life's challenges and that you have the strength to overcome adversity. With this newfound resilience, you can face life's challenges without being emotionally overwhelmed, knowing that you can weather any storm and come out stronger on the other side. Self-reflection also enables you to cultivate a sense of gratitude for your journey. Often we focus so much on what is lacking or what we've lost that we forget to appreciate the wisdom and strength we've gained along the way. Reflecting on your personal growth helps you see how far you've come and the lessons you've learned. It reminds you that even in the darkest times, there have been moments of light, and every experience has contributed to your emotional growth. Gratitude creates an emotional detachment that is rooted in acceptance and peace, allowing you to release the past without regret and to move forward with a heart full of appreciation. Ultimately, self-reflection and personal growth empower you to live a life that is free from the emotional baggage that holds you back. It helps you become more self-aware, more resilient, and more emotionally independent. As you engage in this process, you'll find that you are no longer defined by the people, events, or stories of your past. Instead, you create a new, empowered narrative, one that is shaped by your own choices, values, and aspirations. Through self-reflection, you not only detach from what no longer serves you, but you also create the emotional space needed to grow into the best version of yourself. As we bring this journey of emotional detachment to a close, understand that this process is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It is about becoming the best version of yourself. It's about stepping into your personal power, shedding the emotional weights that have held you back, and choosing to live a life that is free, balanced, and fulfilling. The path to emotional detachment is a journey of growth, one that requires self-awareness, self-respect, and the courage to let go of what no longer serves you. You have the power to shift your focus inward, to set healthy boundaries, and to let go of past hurts and attachments that keep you tied to old emotional patterns. Through self-reflection, you can learn to understand your triggers, heal from your wounds, and embrace the person you are becoming. Every step you take toward emotional detachment is a step toward personal freedom, peace, and emotional resilience. Know that this journey is not always easy, but it is worth every moment of effort. As you detach from unhealthy attachments and negative emotions, you begin to experience a freedom and a peace that cannot be found in external validation or in the approval of others. The freedom to choose how you respond to life's challenges, the peace that comes from trusting yourself and your decisions, and the strength that comes from understanding your worth. These are the rewards of emotional detachment. Remember, you are not defined by your past, your mistakes, or the opinions of others. You are not bound by the things that have hurt you. You are the sum of your choices, your actions, and your willingness to grow. Letting go of the emotional baggage, reclaiming your peace, and choosing to honor yourself is a powerful act of self-love. When you do this, you not only heal yourself, but you open up space for deeper, more meaningful relationships, a greater sense of purpose, and a life filled with joy, fulfillment, and endless possibility. So I encourage you today to embrace this journey. Embrace the process of emotional detachment. Release the past, honor your boundaries, and trust in your ability to create a life that reflects your highest self. You are worthy of the peace, joy, and freedom that awaits you on the other side. The future is yours to create. No excuses. The time for waiting is over. The time for questioning whether you are capable is done. You've heard the message, you felt the call, and now it's time to step up and claim the life that you deserve. Emotional detachment is not a passive process, it requires action. It demands that you make the hard choices, the difficult decisions, and the uncomfortable changes that will elevate your life to a higher level. No more hiding behind your fears, no more letting past experiences dictate your present, and no more allowing others to control how you feel. Understand this, you have the power to transform your life. The ability to detach emotionally from toxic situations, from old wounds, from limiting beliefs, and from unhealthy relationships is within you. The question is not whether you have the strength to do it. The question is whether you will choose to do it. It's time to break free from the chains of emotional attachment that have kept you confined. You can choose to shift your focus inward, to prioritize your peace, and to build a foundation of strength that no external force can shake. You can choose to set the boundaries that protect your mental and emotional health, and you can choose to let go of the past, not because it wasn't meaningful, but because it no longer serves the person you are becoming. You are worthy of emotional freedom, of joy, and of peace. There are no more excuses, no more I can't, because no more waiting for the perfect moment. The time to take control of your emotions, your choices, and your life is now. Every moment you delay is a moment spent in the chains of your past. But today, right now, you have the opportunity to decide that you are done with anything that holds you back. You are done with the fear. You are done with the self-doubt. You are done with the emotional baggage. You are ready to rise, to heal, and to move forward with unwavering confidence. You owe it to yourself to make this change. You owe it to your future, to your peace of mind, and to the person you were always meant to be. No excuses. It's time to step into your power. It's time to detach from anything that robs you of your peace. The future belongs to you, and it starts today.
There was this young man, I mean brilliant kid, had all the talent in the world, but holding on to every Christmas ever got. There were this favorite song. One day I asked him, people kill your dreams, that he eat him. It needed to use. See, letting go is about being to say this stops a day. It's about understanding that your future is worth more than you pain. Some of you are sitting understand my situation, but I stand understand that pain. Holding on to anger feels like power. I understand you. um I'm sure nobody tells you about my success. Get me down is the forge.